back at it again, because that's what we do. We don't get to it as much as we'd like to, but we're working on it. Today, we're going to talk about the protests. I was driving by, didn't even realize there was protests going on in my city, Fresno, California, and drove by an old mall. They're kind of revamping it, and there's a ton of protesters out there. What kills me, though, now, I'm a strong proponent of civil rights. I think that if your civil rights are being violated, you should absolutely voice your opinions and try to correct it as much as possible. The problem with that is that when you choose to be in this country and you left a different country, you waving a flag of your old country is kind of goofy, because the country of the flag that you're waving in America, to have some type of solidarity or voice your opinions about how good your country is or how proud of your country you are. Just the problem is you abandon the country that you're trying to celebrate. So how is it that you left the country that you're celebrating, but again, you left and you choose to move here? Not saying you shouldn't be proud of where you came from, but at the same time, if you're in a protest, it has nothing to do with whether or not you're from a particular country, but whether or not you're here illegally, whether or not you followed the rules, all of that type of stuff. And you want to say F ICE, which I think that's crazy, because in the same way that people say F the police, I think it's crazy also. Now, I'm not saying that dirty police shouldn't be, be given the F word. In the case of like the famous song by NWA, F the Police, that was a reflection, or that was a criticism, or however you want to put it, about the people who wore the uniform, but who acted in the same way as the criminals do. That's totally different. So if you got some overzealous ICE agents, I totally agree that, you should give them the F word. However, if you got agents that are doing their job, I think they should be commended, because you're getting the criminals out of here. Now, people say, they're arresting, migrant workers, or they're arresting, people who are just trying to feed their family. I equate that with an example. I mean, I watch police videos on YouTube a lot, and I equate that example with the guy who says he was stealing out of Walmart to feed his family. I mean, you got to feed your family. Is it wrong to steal? Absolutely. But, does that pull on the heartstrings of people who can sympathize with that? And, knowing you have to feed your family, you got, kids are hungry, that kind of thing, and you go out to steal to feed your family. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. It's not ever right, because somebody's got to pay for that. But, I could see why you would, run out and steal because your kids are hungry. I get it. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to jail when they catch you. Same thing with the immigration. If you're here illegally and you say, I just, I'm a worker, I'm just here to feed my family, get a better life, blah, 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 all this stuff. And then you get scooped up by ICE, and, you get, people who can sympathize with the fact that you're going to get shipped back to your country. But if you're out here waving the flag of the country that you're being shipped back to, you lose me. You lose me there, because, look, you're here illegally, you're breaking the law, yet you want to put a flag in my face to say, hey, I'm proud of this country, so much so that I'm going to put this flag in your face. But then you don't want to go back to that country. I mean, make up your mind. I mean, pick a side, choose something. Be have some integrity. So, I also look at how these truck drivers, because I'm gonna say I'm a former truck driver because I hope to never go back and drive again because I'm doing some other things, and we're gonna talk about that in some later videos. But these truck drivers who can't speak a lick of English, and as a matter of fact, the industry I'm moving to, I'm having to talk to these people, and I'm having an extremely hard time figuring out what it is exactly they're saying. So I get why, you know, people in the trucking industry, people who make the rules, want people to speak the English. Now, if there's a requirement to do anything, should you be able to not do the thing in any circumstance? Should you be not forced to do the thing that you're required to do in any situation? And the answer is no. So why is it that you want to give some type of leniency to people who can't speak English? So I mean, it creates a problem because everybody doesn't speak Spanish, everybody doesn't speak Indian, and everybody doesn't speak Russian or German or whatever. Yet these people who drive these trucks go to these shipping companies and receiving facilities and stuff like that, and you can't speak it like English. It's tough. I hear them. Sometimes you gotta stand in line and check in, and we're in line 5, 10, 15 more minutes than we should be because there's people that that have to take extra time to try to figure out what the hell these people are saying. And it's annoying and it's crazy. And from a safety standpoint, if you can't speak the English, you probably can't read the English. So, there's signs. I mean, most signs are have symbols along with it. But in the case of that guy that turned on the Florida freeway and trying to make a U-turn, and the family slammed in the back of him and led to their fatal demise. I don't know that particularly had anything to do with English, because there's a sign that with a U and a cross going through it. I mean, if you can't understand that, you don't need to even be on the road in the first place. But just from a practical and common sense standpoint, you don't need no sign to determine whether or not you want to make a U-turn from the bottom lane on a busy highway when you can just go to the next exit. Now, will it cost you? He's on a turnpike. Now, will it cost you a few extra bucks? Yes. Are some people willing and lazy enough to make a U-turn in the middle of a populated highway? Absolutely, we saw that. So, but I mean, I don't know that not knowing English had anything to do with that. Now, because he didn't speak English, it's a political issue. People in politics are going to inflame that issue and say that, hey, these people need to speak English. Do I disagree with that? Absolutely not. Did I vote for the orange guy? Absolutely not. But do I agree with some of the stuff that he's doing currently? Absolutely. A fraction, especially when it comes to the trucking industry, because it's saturated. And it's saturated with people who don't speak English. If you come up with a rule to say that you need to speak English, you need to speak English, bro. I don't really use the word bro, but I actually hate it. Somebody just broed me 15 million times this morning. But I mean, I agree with it because it makes doing business harder. I have to go out and learn Spanish. I'm coming to that realization because the new industry that I'm getting into, I'm missing money because I can't communicate with people in the industry that I'm moving into. So, I mean, I have to do this. It's not a requirement, but in terms of, increasing the bottom line, I see that how learning Spanish is definitely going to increase my bottom line, just because I'm having to turn down stuff because of the language barrier. Now, look, if I'm somebody who's not even required to do it, and I'm, seeing the need as a business owner to go out and, learn Spanish. If it's a requirement, I'm going to go do it. I have to. I don't, I'm a stickler for doing things the right way, because you start to cut corners and stuff. You cut corners on your customers, you cut corners on, on anything, and it could cause negative effects. You could try to make a U-turn on the freeway. You could miss out on money. You could, do the wrong thing because you didn't understand what it was you were trying to do. Whatever it is, a miscommunication can cost you, whether it be money or life or whatever. And I think that, you know, especially if it's a requirement, that you should do it. And I'm going to learn a different language just because it's going to make me more money. It's not a requirement to me. And in this case, it doesn't have to be. I know what I need to do. And I'm going to, start to take steps to do those things. So as you can see, I have no sympathy. I have no sympathy, especially when a lot of these people sat on the sideline when it came to, the civil rights of African American people. A lot of these people, they didn't exist. So that's why when you go look at these protests, you're not going to see a whole lot of black people. Because look, we know who was out there. We saw, what the crowds look like, and they don't look like what they look like now. So they stayed out, and a lot of African Americans are going to sit it out too. So with that, enjoy the rest of your day, and until next time, take care.